Hello everyone and welcome to Sally and Bytes. Today, I am here to teach Data File Handling, Part 3, for the Class 12 students of Computer Science. In this video, we are going to learn reading data from a file, read function, read of n function, readline function, readlines function with practical implementation. So, let's dive in and get started. The Python programming language provides the ability to work with files using open function. Python programming treats some files as text files, where lines are separated by new line characters \n. You can open regular files with the parameter r. Now we are going to learn how to read data from a file. Python provides various methods associated with a file object for reading data from a file. We can read character data from text file by using the read methods given here. Read function, read of n function, readline function, and readlines function. Let's see the methods of reading data from a text file in Python. Read function. To read the entire data from the file, starts reading from the cursor, from the beginning of the file, up to the end of the file. Read of n function. To read in characters from the file, starting from the cursor, if file holds fewer than n characters, it will read until the end of the file. Also, if the size is missing or has a negative value, then the entire file is read. Readline function. To read only one line from the file, starts reading from the cursor up to, and including, the end of line character. Readlines function. To read all lines from the file into a list, starts reading from the cursor up to the end of the file and returns a list of strings, separated by new line character \n. Let's learn about the read function in detail. We have read function and read of size function. Read function can be used to read entire data, while read of size can be used to read specific size strings from a file. This function also returns a string read from the file. At the end of the file, again an empty string will be returned. The syntax of read function is a file object.read function or file object.read of size. Here the size specifies the number of bytes to read from the file. So, the function may be used to read a specific number of characters from the file. If the value of size is not provided or a negative value is specified as size, then the entire file will be read. Let's see some examples. To illustrate read function by reading the entire data from a file, myfile.txt. Now look at the main.py Python code. Line 1. F equals open of myfile.txt, r. This line opens the file myfile.txt in read mode, r. The open function returns a file object that you can use to interact with the file. In line 2, data equals f.read function. Here, you use the read method of the file object, f, to read the entire content of the file and store it in the variable data. This method reads the entire content of the file as a single string. In line 3, it prints the content of the file, which is stored in the data variable. This will output the entire content of the file to the console. In line 4, finally, you use the close method to close the file. It's important to close the file after you're done with it to free up system resources and ensure that the file is properly closed. Now look at the right side text file, named myfile.txt. You can type any text to read. The content of the file myfile.txt seems to be as follows. Hello everyone. Welcome to Sally and Bytes. Now, you are working with Python files. So, when you run the main code, it will read the content of myfile.txt and print it to the console. You can check the output here, how the entire data from the text file is read and displayed. Let's see another example. Example 2. To illustrate read of n by reading only the first 10 characters from the file myfile.txt. Now, look at the main code, main.py line 2, data equals f.read of 10. Here, you use the read method of the file object, f, with an argument of 10. This means you're reading the next 10 characters, or bytes, from the file and storing them in the variable data. In line 3, it prints the content stored in the data variable, which are the first 10 characters from the file. When you run the provided code, it will read the first 10 characters from the file and print them to the console as hello ever. In this case, only the first 10 characters of the file are read and printed. This demonstrates that you can read a specific number of characters, or bytes, from a file using the read method with an argument. Keep in mind that the argument specifies the maximum number of characters to read, so if the file content is shorter than that, it will read the entire content. Now look at example 3. To illustrate read of n, by reading only the first 150 characters from the file, myfile.txt. Here the file content is shorter than the data to be read 150 characters, so it will read the entire data as shown in the output. It reads the entire data, as the text file content is shorter than the data to be read. Always remember, read function returns a string read from the file. Here, when we find the type of data, it displays type equals class str. That is, the data is of string type. Let's learn about readline function. Readline function is used to read only one line from the file, starts reading from the cursor up to, and including, the end of line character. Readline function will return a line read, as a string from the file. First call to function will return the first line, second call return the next line, and so on. We must remember that file object keeps track from where reading or writing of data should happen. Now, come to the second point. For readline function, a line is terminated by \n, that is, new line character. The new line character is also read from the file and postfixed in the string. When end of file is reached, readline function will return an empty string. The syntax for readline function is file object.readline function. Here, file object is the file object that has been opened using the open function. It represents the file you want to read from. The readline function reads characters from the file until it reaches a new line character, \n, or until the end of the file, whichever comes first. It then returns the content it has read as a string. Since the method returns a string, it should be returned and stored using a variable as shown here in the first box. X variable equals file.readline function or print of file.readline function. For reading an entire file using readline function, we will have to loop over the file object. This is a memory-efficient, simple, and fast way of reading the file, as shown in the second box. For line in x:, print of line. Example 5. To read data line by line using readline method. In the main code, main.py, look at line 2. F equals open of myfile.txt, r. This line opens the file myfile.txt in read mode, r, and assigns the file object to the variable f. This allows us to interact with the file's contents. In line 3, line 1 equals f.readline function. This line reads the first line from the file using the readline method. It reads until it encounters a new line character, \n, and assigns the content hello everyone to the variable line 1. Thus, you can see the output displayed only the first line, hello everyone. Example 6. To read data line by line using readline method. In the main code, main.py, look at line 2. F equals open of myfile.txt, r. This line opens the file myfile.txt in read mode, r, and assigns the file object to the variable f. This allows us to interact with the file's contents. In line 3, line 1 equals f.readline function. This line reads the first line from the file using the readline method. It reads until it encounters a new line character, \n, and assigns the content "Hello everyone" to the variable line 1. In line 4, it prints the content of line 1 to the console. The end equals argument is used to prevent adding an extra new line character after the content is printed. So, it prints "Hello everyone" to the console. In line 5, line 2 equals f.readline function reads the second line from the file and assigns the content "Welcome to Sally Ann Bites" to the variable line 2. In line 6, it prints the content of line 2 to the console, resulting in "Welcome to Sally Ann Bites" being printed. In line 7, line 3 equals f.readline function reads the third line from the file and assigns the content "Now you are working with" to the variable line 3. In line 8, it prints the content of line 3 to the console, resulting in "Now you are working with" being printed. In line 9, line 4 equals f.readline function reads the fourth line from the file and assigns the content "Python files" to the variable line 4. In line 10, it prints the content of line 4 to the console, resulting in "Python files" being printed. In line 11, f.close function, the line closes the file after reading and printing its contents. Closing the file is important to release system resources. Now, the text file is seen on the right side, holding the text. The output is, data is read line by line using readline method. 4 lines are displayed in the output. Always remember that the readline function returns a string read from the file. Here, when we find the type of data, it displays type equals class str. That is, the data is of string type. Let's learn about readlines function. Readlines function is used to read all lines from the file into a list. It starts reading from the cursor up to the end of the file and returns a list of strings, separated by new line character \n. Readlines function can be used to read the entire data content of the file. This method will print all the lines present in the file. It will start reading the data line-wise from the beginning of the file and shall display the contents of the file till the end of file character. The syntax of readlines function is file_object.readlines function. Here, file object is the file object that has been opened using the open function. It represents the file you want to read from. Readlines function reads all lines from the file and returns them as a list of strings. Each string in the list represents a line from the file. Let's see an example for readlines function. To read all the lines from the file into list. Now, look at the code. In line 2, it opens the file myfile.txt in read mode, R. In line 3, it uses the readlines function to read all lines from the file and store them in a list in a variable data, and in line 4, it gets printed, and finally, in line 5, it closes the file after reading. Now look at the output. Each line of the file is stored as a separate string element in the list that is in square brackets, including new line characters, \n. Keep in mind that the new line characters are present because the readlines function retains the line breaks from the file. Now, look line 6, in the main code, you are finding the type of the data. Now look at the output, type equals class list. So, here, we have to remember that readlines function reads all lines from the file and returns them as a list of strings. Each string in the list represents a line from the file. Let's see another example for readlines function using for loop. To read all the lines from the file into list. Now, look at the main code, line 2, f equals open myfile.txt, r. This line opens the file myfile.txt in read mode, r, and assigns the file object to the variable f. This file object is used to interact with the file's contents. In line 3, lines equals f.readlines function. This line reads all lines from the file using the readlines method. It returns a list of strings where each string represents a line from the file, including the new line characters, \n, at the end of each line. The list of lines is assigned to the variable lines. In line 4, we use the for loop. For line in lines : this loop iterates through each element, line, in the lines list. In line 5, inside the loop, this line prints the content of the current line to the console using the print function. The end equals empty string argument is used to prevent the addition of an extra new line character after the content of the line is printed. This effectively prints each line without additional new lines. Finally, in line 6, f.close function, after the loop completes, this line closes the file. It's important to close the file to release system resources and ensure proper handling of the file. Now look at the output. The lines are printed exactly as they appear in the text file, without any additional formatting like list square brackets or \n, etc. Thanks for watching. Watch the upcoming videos. Data File Handling Part 4. Writing data to file, write function, readline function with practical implementation. You can check the link in the description box below.